at our 20-week ultrasound, when we went with Eden, it was so easy, you guys. It was like so quick. I was so nervous. I didn't know what to expect. And at the 20-week ultrasound, if you don't know, that's where they're looking for a list of like, I don't know, 160 to 180 different things they're checking on for a baby. And at Eden's, it was, like I said, so easy. We got in, the nurse left and came back, and she's like, hey, the doctor said everything looks good, so he doesn't need to see you. You can go. And I was like, do we get a discount? Like, that sounds easy. But with baby boy, it was not that easy. I remember sitting in the chair, and the nurse was so sweet and so thorough, but she started telling us like, hey, I just want you to be prepared. The doctor's gonna come in and talk to you about a few things. And in your head, you're like, what? He has to see me this time? And I remember him coming in and showing us the heart and the brain. Take one of these. Showing us the heart and the brain. And I honestly was in so much shock, I don't remember the terminology he used. But baby boy had some spots on his brain and extra fluid around the heart. And they started telling us, like, it could be this, it could be that. The alarming thing was that they found them both together. And it could have led to complications down the road in labor, but also his life. And I remember sitting in that chair just wanting to run away and cry. And I remember mom guilt coming in so heavy. With this pregnancy, I was so nauseous my first trimester, and the only thing that sounded good was sour candy. So in the chair, I'm thinking, I ate too much candy. You laugh, but it was a real thought. This is my fault. I ate too much sugar. And then I thought, I haven't written in his journal as much because I've been busy chasing a toddler, so maybe he doesn't feel enough love. And that's why he's not developing. It was my fault. So we get to the car. I'm trying not to cry in the hospital. And we get in Taylor's car, and I sit down, and just waterworks come. And Taylor, the doctor was really great. He told us, don't get on Google, just come back in 2 weeks. So we make our appointment, we get in the car, and I'm weeping. And Taylor just looks at me. He said, the doctor said we're gonna come back. He didn't say there was something wrong, so we're not gonna believe that something's wrong with our baby boy. We're not gonna believe that it's gonna get worse. We're gonna believe if there's something wrong that God's gonna heal him, or we're gonna believe there's nothing wrong. And so I'm acting tough. I'm like, okay. And we didn't tell any. We told a few people. Probably on one hand, I can count how many people I told in this time. And that was only because they would, how did it go? And I just start crying. And I'm like, okay, obviously I have to tell you what's going on. But I remember in that 2 weeks, everyone says the last month of pregnancy is the longest. That 2 weeks was the longest. Waiting. And at some point in that 2 weeks, I decided to protect the promise. I went to Google, not to Google what the doctor said. I Googled every single scripture I could find about healing and about what God has done to the baby in my womb. I looked up every scripture I could find. I told Taylor, I said, I'm taking over our bathroom mirror. I wrote it down. It's still on our mirror. All the promises I found in the Bible. And I started speaking them over my son, speaking them over myself and my body. And it didn't click right away. And I started praying and journaling in his journal like nothing was wrong. And the Lord started showing me things he was going to do in my son's life, giving me words over his life. Started showing me he was going to be one that would help reignite others' faith. which is so cool that it's so cool that I get to share this word carrying him, because he reignited my faith. And so I started praying and journaling like nothing was wrong. And I remember one day I was praying and I felt like God showed me the ultrasound with the spots on his brain. And I felt like I saw God's finger touching them and them dissolving. And I wish I could tell you the first thought in my head was thank you. The first thought in my head was, I made that up. I wasn't full of faith. But I said, no, I'm taking that thought captive. And I'm declaring that is what happened. So anyways, the 2 weeks goes by. My heart is pounding on the way to the doctor. Like I said, I wish I could have said, oh, I'm so full of faith. I know what God said. I know what he did. There was doubts, fear, questions. We go to our ultrasound. The doctor comes in and he's talking to us. He's looking at the heart. He said, the heart looks great. I said, okay. And I had to remind him to look at the brain. I said, what about the brain? And he said, oh, I didn't say anything about it because it looks perfect. I don't know what happened, but I do know what happened. God's faithful. If you want to see the impossible, the possible has to die first.